今度はこちらの番だな。絶望を知れ、ブラックホール。
Hey everyone, I am glad you are here. In this video I present to you top 10 anime where the main character has godlike abilities. As usual I try to include anime that are not well known, so you may find a show you haven't seen yet. If you are new here, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you can be updated when I upload future videos. With all that said, let's get right into the video. Let's start off this list with big order. 10 years ago, a fairy by the name of Daisy appeared and asked our MC Eiji Hashimiya what his one and only wish was. Although his wish remains a mystery, the consequences were catastrophic. In an event called the Great Destruction, the world started to fall apart as everything collapsed and countless people died. Now, Eiji is a high school student whose only concern is his sick sister. He does not remember what he wished for, all that he remembers is that his wish caused the Great Destruction. In the years since that event, thousands of other people have also received abilities to make their heart's desire come true. These people, called orders, are believed to be evil and are hated by the general public. However, some of these orders are after Eiji's life and vengeance for those that he killed. I wasn't exactly too fond of this anime. I'm not going to say that it was completely bad because, as I mentioned earlier, the show does deliver lots of great moments. However, in the long run, I felt like it was wasted potential. Overall, I think it needed a lot of work in the story and especially the characters department. Next at number 9, to the abandoned sacred beasts. With the initiation of the Patrian Civil War came the creation of half-beast, half-human soldiers, a development of the outnumbered northerners in a desperate attempt to counter the overwhelming southern forces. Able to quickly dominate battlefields and achieve victory with ease, the soldiers' godlike abilities earned them the name Incarnates. However, as the war raged on, the Incarnates encountered a problem involving the beasts inside them that they were unable to rectify by ordinary means. Once the war was over, mysteries and accounts of the Incarnates submitting to the misfortune of their war days surfaced. Aware of the horrors they faced during the war, Special Sergeant Major and former captain of the Incarnates Hank Henriette becomes a beast hunter, those who take the lives of Incarnates who have succumbed to the issues they experienced on the battlefields. Though I did enjoy watching this anime, there are problems that prevent this anime from being a really great show. If it added more context, expanded on the first episode and improved its animation quality that MAPPA has shown from their previous works, then this would be a great show. There are still some parts of this show that I like and kept me watching, like the main leads and how it portrays that war is hell. Could have easily been better, and that's what disappointed me the most about it. Number 8, Yao Jing Zhong Jishosu. On his way to a convention, our MC Yuan Ding, an otaku, finds himself transported to another world. A fantasy world with magic and demons. After failing the entrance exam at Shuayu Academy, he decides to become a gardener where he learns about the fairy seed. Yuan Ding's life in another world begins, aiming to collect the fairies said to exist in the legends to change his destiny and become the protagonist of this new world. This being a Chinese anime, you can't really compare it to traditional Japanese anime. They just aren't the same, so judging this show based on other Japanese anime just doesn't seem right. With that being said, this anime was okay for most part, although there are a lot of areas that needed improvement. The story itself doesn't work unless you put your heart into the anime. Sure, this show isn't a masterpiece, but it's a far cry from many low-budget Japanese anime. Number 7, Noblesse. Our MC Rai, who is known as the Noblesse, is enrolled in Yiran High School by his servant Frankenstein to stay hidden from the sights of the Union, a mysterious organization out for Rai's blood. Rai commences his life as a student, making himself familiar with his classmates and the daily activities of humans. However, his new life is far from peaceful, and Rai is soon forced to save his new friends from the hands of the Union that had abducted them. Meanwhile, M21, a Union agent gone rogue during Rai's rescue operation, joins the Yiran High School security staff after a proposition by the school's director, who happens to be none other than Frankenstein himself. On the surface, M21 is a prim and proper employee, but in truth he is shackled by his former ties to the Union and the inevitable consequences of betraying the organization. Despite its flaws, I did enjoy this show quite a bit and think it had a lot of potential. I do recognize the fact we only saw a few chapters out of a massive work. The whole concept of vampire nobles, mysticism and human genetic engineering is cool. I just wish the story had been a bit better down the stretch. Number 6. The greatest demon lord is reborn as a typical nobody. As the most powerful entity of all time, the demon lord Barbatos thinks life is a big fat snore. When he takes matters into his own hands and decides to reincarnate, he calibrates his magical strength to be perfectly average. But there is no way he could have predicted that everyone in the modern world would be weak as hell, which means he is totally overpowered once again. Reborn under the name Ard, he has ladies fawning over him, the royal family begging him to become the next king, and an ex-minion insisting on killing him. But Ard has a one-track mind, and he won't stop at anything to achieve his ultimate goal. So far the story is just your basic fantasy story with an overpowered main character that has a lot of girls chasing him. Nothing new there, you know exactly how it's gonna turn out if there's no development or some surprising plot twist at some point. The music is good, just good though, not easily forgotten but not that long to be remembered either, and lastly the characters are somewhat okay. With all that being said, if you like isekai anime with overpowered main characters and you don't mind the cliché elements, then I suggest you give this anime a try. Number 5. Reikenzan, Hoshikuzu-tachi no Utage. Long ago, in the 9 provinces of Kyushu, a calamitous event was prophesied to take place. Falling comets would exhaust the spiritual energies of both the heavens and the lands and thus bring about an age of chaos upon the world. But contrary to the prophecy, the comets passed by with no calamity taking place. At the same time, as if touched by the phenomenon, a boy was born in a remote village of the Sokiai region by the name of Iriku. 12 years later, as the memories of the event have faded from people's minds, the Reikenzan clan, one of the 5 supreme sects of the 9 provinces, decides to hold an examination in order to gather the most talented individuals fit to become disciples and eventually sages. Story-wise, this anime isn't that great. It has the typical storyline of a main hero who is special in some way and quite overpowered and who shows everyone else that he's not just a loser. However, the plot pace for this show is a bit different and more Chinese-paced, where the whole backstory is presented before the main problem of the story appears. To make it more simple, the story is about the efforts and life of a character who is growing up as they face many different life choices, like a saga or biography. Number 4. Utawarerumono. An injured man is found in the woods by a girl named Iruru, and everything about him is mysterious. Without knowledge of his past nor even his own name, he is welcomed to Aruru's home and is given the name Hakuaro by her grandmother and younger sister, Aruru. While the inhabitants of the village have large ears and tails, Hakuaro's defining physical trait is quite different, as he has neither ears nor tail, but only a mask that he cannot remove. Soon after he becomes a part of the villagers' lives, a revolution against the tyrannical emperor of the land begins, and the conflict finds its way to his new home. This anime is not perfect and thus it does not deserve a perfect score. This show had very few flaws to it in my opinion, and had to be one of my favorite shows to jump into. You could feel the great chemistry between the characters, the amazing look of the battles, and the rather calming moments of the breaks. This show is decently good and I would recommend it to anyone that likes fantasy or anime about war. Number 3. Overlord. The final hour of the popular virtual reality game Yggdrasil has come. However, our MC Momonga, a powerful wizard and master of the Dark Guild Angel Gown, decides to spend his last few moments in the game as the servers begin to shut down. To his surprise, despite the clock having struck midnight, Momonga is still fully conscious as his character and, moreover, the non-player characters appear to have developed personalities of their own. Confronted with this abnormal situation, Momonga commands his loyal servants to help him investigate and take control of this new world, with the hopes of figuring out what has caused this development and if there may be others in the same predicament. In my opinion, Overlord is different from other isekai genres because the bad guy is the protagonist. This gives a huge twist since most isekais involve the protagonist saving the world, but Overlord adds a twist to the norm. The art style is decent but slightly outdated, however the newer Overlord seasons has better art but is not on par with the very top. The sound recording is good and consistent, there is a lot of character development and thus the enjoyment from the challenges and changes is high. Number 2. To Your Eternity. An orb, known only as it, is cast to Earth to be observed from afar. Capable of changing forms from beings whose reflections it captures, it first becomes a rock and then, due to the rising temperature, moss. It does not move until one snowy day, a wolf at death's door barely crosses by. When it takes the animal's form, it attains awareness of its consciousness and starts to wander with an unclear destination in mind. Soon, it comes across the wolf's master, a young boy waiting for his tribe to return from a paradise abundant with fish and fruit in the south. Although the boy is lonely, he still hopes those whom he holds dear in his memories have not forgotten him and that he will reunite with them one day. All in all, To Your Eternity is not your average shounen. If you think Fushi is your average shounen protagonist, killing the bad guys with its superpowers, then you will be surprised. To Your Eternity is like a small, yet never-ending research of human nature. I cannot say that this series is a masterpiece, but I simply cannot deny its uniqueness and beauty. Number 1. The Disastrous Life of Saiki K. To the average person, psychic abilities might seem a blessing. For our MC Kusuo Saiki, however, this couldn't be further from the truth. Gifted with a wide assortment of supernatural abilities ranging from telepathy to X-ray vision, he finds this so-called blessing to be nothing but a curse. As all the inconveniences his powers cause constantly pile up, all Kusuo aims for is an ordinary, hassle-free life, a life where ignorance is bliss. Unfortunately, the life of a psychic is far from quiet. Though Kusuo tries to stay out of the spotlight by keeping his powers a secret from his classmates, he ends up inadvertently attracting the attention of many odd characters, such as the empty-headed Reikenzan and the delusional Shunkaido. Forced to deal with the craziness of the people around him, Kusuo comes to learn that the ordinary life he has been striving for is a lot more difficult to achieve than expected. This show is a fantastic comedy anime that will have you entertained through every single episode. The characters are fairly one-dimensional, but for comedic or commentary purposes this is not a problem. There's not much of a larger story going on throughout the season, as in true comedy anime fashion they prefer to just create new scenarios for every episode, but it never feels like it needs it or that it's lacking something. It truly is just a sit down and be entertained kind of anime, without having to worry about following a story or deeper character motivations. That's it for this list. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. It's free and you can always change your mind. See you next time.
응?